1:30 into regular session.
Motion to remove. Second.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Eric Brandt.
Okay, we're back.
Okay, give us a second.
Yeah. I have a conference call too, that's fine.
You doing planning first?
No.
Oh. Hold on then.
Planning is really good. Vote on it now.
Did you hear that? What'd you say? He said it's easy. We can go ahead and just vote on it now.
I said plan. 9:40. All right. What we're doing for engineering?
All right, we mentioned this earlier. What we're focusing on today is kind of the highlights, increases, decreases, and any major items that we need to discuss. We're just kind of hitting the highlights right now.
Yeah, I want to hand it out to you. This is our right here, but budget reduction. So that's getting a little out of hand. We are having our highest volume of work this year. So we're continuing to do more with less. All I'm really asking for in the budget is the benefits that we didn't get last year. We had one employee switch from single to family, which is about a $17,000 deal, and we didn't get it. Get what you got last year out of the thing. So we're very short on benefits this year. And that'll just keep happening if we don't go ahead and plug that money in. So that's the increase we're asking for.
Let's see, you're getting rid of the part-time position.
Yeah, and I'm distributing that money to the people I have left.
Right.
Carrying this heavy load.
You don't need that part-time specialist.
I didn't use it this year. So I'm going to forego that and bring the rest of my crew up to the lower level of the salary for what they do in the region. They're below market. Let's bring them below into the market.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? If not, do we have a motion to receive the estimate of needs for FY 25-26 for the general fund engineering account?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thanks, Stace. Eric?
Should have went one of these over today.
Everybody got it? Everybody good? All right, go ahead, Derek.
If we just hit my highlights, really everything is remained constant from previous years. Our big ask was the master plan. And so since it sounds like we're moving in that direction as far as proving that money, that was really our big ask. As far as the two budgets we have the general fund and we have the planning commission fee fund. The general fund, it's staying the same. That's just Marquita and I. That are paid from the general fund. And then as far as the fee fund, that's the rest of our crew, if you will. That's our 2 inspectors and planning assistant. Again, all that has pretty much stayed the same. Some things have even increased. Postage is one of them. Postage is kind of the thing that increased quite a bit for us. Publication as well. But
Okay.
beyond,
We have a recommendation this morning for your master plan. So if that's approved at budget board on Thursday, if you would redo your estimate of needs, send it back in without the $50,000 for the master plan.
I've already done that.
Okay.
Ooh, your presumptions. Exactly.
Well, you have a copy of
Okay.
Okay. All right. So if that is approved,
He said planning, so that's.
so if that's approved, then we'll receive the other one. So
Never thought of that.
Touche, Aaron, touche.
I do more than part.
he's the county planner. You have a tracker keeper?
No.
No.
Unless you want to call a computer that. Pretty much. Acts like.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
What is the master plan? Why do we do that?
So master plan is how the county looks at development over a 30-year time horizon in the future. So we look at specifically land use because that's the area that we have most control over to some degree. But the master plan also includes transportation and includes other infrastructure in regards to water, wastewater. So in the northwest part of the county, as an example, some of the city of Oklahoma City, their water lines are out there, so that affects the density development.
Emergency response.
City of Oklahoma City also has some of their sewer lines out in that area, so that affects density as well. We have Deer Creek Water, which is the northwest part of the county. They're a private water corporation. We have Deer Creek School District, so they come into play as far as the density that's out there. That part of the county is the most active as far as development in regards to residential, commercial. The northeast and the east side of the county is pretty rural for the most part. One of the reasons we put off doing the master plan earlier is because of the construction of the turnpike that's occurred. We started this process back in 2014 to put it on halt because of the turnpike. Since the turnpike's been built, there really hasn't been a lot of activity out there in regards to rezoning property. But we think it's just a matter of time. So one of the things we want to look at is infrastructure out there. See if City of Jones, Town of Luther, City of Hera, Choctaw, how they're going to play into potentially bringing out water into those areas. A lot of times if they're going to extend their infrastructure, then you get into annexation of our jurisdiction. So it's a combination of all those things that are captured into one plan. So it looks at all those issues, land use, infrastructure, development, and all of that. And then we project based on public input on where we want all of these new developments. Should it be here? Should it be there? How are we going to maintain it once there? What policies do we want to put in place to basically guide this development? As an example, in the northwest part of the county, there's a real big water issue in regards to well water. So if you go out there and you own a private piece of property, you don't want to connect to Deer Creek water, you want to drill your own well. The chance is once you get west of Portland, basically, the water quality and quantity is going to decrease significantly. So that's something that we need to take into account. How do we want to move forward? Do we want to have larger developments? So let's say 2 to 5 acre lot sizes compared to 1 acre lot sizes that we have out there now.
It sounds like you already know all this.
I just facilitate the meetings. I don't vote on anything. I can give my opinion all day long, but it's up to the Board of County Commissioners and the Planning Commission to decide what direction they want to go. So the master plan acts as a guide to help them make more informed decisions.
And remind us the last time that we did that.
So the last time the master plan was done was 2008, and then before that was back in the 60s. But as time has moved forward, just a lot of issues have come up. Most of the items that are on the planning commission agenda are District 3 items in the northwest part. And I think as Edmond grows back to the east side of the county, once you get north of Oklahoma City, east of Edmond, west of Luther, that's going to start taking off. It is now to some degree as you get closer to I-35. So this is a combination of a lot of these issues.
Sit in District 3, kick in most of the money for it then.
One would, think so, yeah.
That's your guidance.
And they're the principal beneficiaries. So
No, it's not a District 3 plan, it's a master plan.
It's the thing that people beat over the planning commission's head when they want to do something. Well, you're master plan. So, all right.
Yeah, so it's an all-encompassing plan looking at all those factors just to try to help the planning commission and board of county commissioners with the best information possible on making decisions in regards to land use.
Way down in that comment about District 3, thanks.
Well, District 2 is in the, especially when you get south of here, District 2, that area is the second most popular. So as far as most of the agendas, it is District 3.
So I'm hearing a District 3, District 2 split.
Hey, don't get me started on that.
I could see an argument. Just
Split until we split how we catch.
Exactly.
The percentage.
there you
Definitely not equal.
Sounds like
go.
70-30, District 3,
I'll
District
bring it
2.
up.
Start with 92.
92. All right, thanks, Eric.
Motion to receive planning.
With my comments.
Okay, we got a motion second to receive the estimate needs for the FY 25-26 Planning Commission EON. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Who made the motion? Randy. And the second was Paul.
Point here that you are putting me down as abstaining.
She is now.
Okay. With that, let's move on to, looks like the only other here, other than those on the table, is Jessica. Jessica, you got general government, commissioners, and pre-fair.
So I reprinted. And then made a copy.
Is this general government?
General government
Only?
and commission. Not me, not three.
Is this different than what we have?
This is different from what you have. It was prepared right before I started my role, and so I had a chance to go through and make sure we're accurate.
Well, thank you for that.
Sorry, I didn't get it to you before. the-
Do what? So is there a 3-hole punch in that? I don't know about. It's that,
Where's the line?
one hole punch that you got to
Yeah, you're just- you got a mark.
line it up. Yeah. Petite square.
Okay, would you like to start with general government or the?
Yes.
General government would be great.
Okay. So, looking at the general government salaries, that hasn't changed for the retirement board, The changes that you will see I have listed here at NACO or NACO, and there was actually an increase. That invoice just came in of $1,553. We have several of those memberships, and I have not received invoices on those to know if there was an increase. Insurance premiums, we're anticipating a 25% increase, so that's increased to $148,782.
What? 54,019, is that the line?
It's 54,019.
Yeah, what dollar amount did you just say?
$48,782.
Okay, I heard you say something different.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Okay, the next increase, all of the other, we kept the premium, insurance, cell phone, all those the same. The next increase, I had a conversation with Keith Monroe and asked him about our utilities, and he suggested an increase of $50,000 for our electric utilities, and then an increase of $500 for our sewer and water. I had the opportunity to tour Vicinity yesterday, their plant, and received the contracts, and it was an actual decrease of $167,884. I have both contracts for courthouse and the detention center. For PBA leases, county departments, Keith had discussed in a previous PBA board meeting an increase of 2.9 based on the consumer price index. And so we increased that to $38,393.90. There was an increase in professional services outside legal. The increase was $400,000 for possible anticipated additional outside legal expenses. There was a decrease in professional services for the DA. The decrease was $62,114. And I'll be working on that contract. The Criminal Justice Authority, that was left the same as last year, but from the notes that I had, that they are asking for an increase of $47,309,063.
They're asking for an increase, or they're asking for a total?
Sorry, a total. And so, but it was left the same in whenever the budget was presented before. It was $47,309,063. That's what they're asking.
Jessica, do you know what the general fund portion of that is? But I'm sure that includes your their cash.
That was not outlined in the budget or the side note that I
Okay.
received.
Yeah, because I think their current budget that we're working 41 million included in cash. So
Yeah, that's.
I can pull up their estimated.
probably about a $6 or $7 million increase.
Yeah, I saw it in here somewhere.
It's in there. Yeah, we have it on for tomorrow.
On the contract with the DA, that's for representing the county, right? How many cases situations have we had where we're conflicted out because of the contract they have with the Criminal Justice Authority? Do we know?
But I could ask.
Because I know there's been some. I think that.
Brandon, it looks like
Mayor,
their budget request from general fund is $8,230,276 increase.
Cody, you said 8 million?
Yeah, $8,230,276. So they've got listed.
Difference between 33 million and 40.
Well, yeah, that's to Brandon's point. They're funded a couple different ways.
5.1 of that's cash.
$5,113,158 is what they're expecting in special revenue, and then they're requesting $42,195,878 from general fund to get you to the 47.
Calling for zero carryover.
They do that every year, don't they?
No, in the past, they actually listed the category. So on the insurance premiums, the 25% increase, where did that come from?
That was already currently projected in the budget whenever I got it. So I just stayed with that. In regards to the 25% increase, I haven't visited with our insurance carrier or Karen in order to see if they're anticipating any increase. I haven't had a chance to have that conversation.
Okay, and then the decrease in the DA's contract at 62,000, where did that come from?
So I believe did you help Karen when, I don't know. So I believe it was a note that was out to the side, and I believe Karen had said that they had actually contacted them to see what the amount was going to be for this year, but I had not seen that contract yet.
So the DA's office is asking for a decrease.
Correct. I believe that is correct. That was the note that was out to the side, and I hadn't received an invoice from them yet.
Okay. On the outside legal, how much have you guys used this year of your outside legal?
I'll have to pull up that number. So, that I thought $1 million was high considering in the past I've known what we requested for each one of those contracts. I haven't had a chance in order to dig into that.
Well, so some of these, you said that you redid the numbers for this.
That was not one that I redid.
Okay.
I just tried to contact as many individuals, vendors that we actually have contracts for, and have conversations in this past week in order to update this as quick as I could.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're going to need an analysis on that outside legal.
Yeah, I can get their contract.
What we've spent, well, it's not going to,
On the outside legal portion, yes. And I'll also get the DA's contract. And verify.
What's the daily living centers?
The daily living centers, whenever we had the discussion at the last BET meeting,
that's the 163 that's in social services.
Yeah.
Right here, pulling out and putting it in general.
so we put it under general government because it'll be a contract that I'll put across policy and governance to determine if they're going to recommend considering it. Okay, so you want a detailed budget of what we have spent so far in outside legal.
Well, I don't know about the rest of the group, but I think you got a 400,000 increase there. You got 350,000 increase in insurance premiums. I think it would be helpful to know if these are grounded in some type of
Actual, yeah.
analysis or if it's just a wag.
Yeah, if I would have had more time, I would have done a forecast and looked back at the previous years and contacted our insurance carrier. I just haven't had time in a week. The only other increase, other than talking about day living centers, the USDA rodent removal, I did hear back from them. It's $1,000 increase. And then I noticed previously on the budget where MIS had an expense of $200,000, but that was actually moved to the MIS department, and the total ESRI contract was $216,900, and so I removed that from what you originally received.
So that will just be shifted over to MIS.
Correct. With an increase of $16,900.
Jessica, where do we stand with Oklahoma State and some kind of submittal?
So on Oklahoma State for the OSHA extension, on here it was on what you have originally. They just carried over the expense of the $580,801, but that included that salary increase that they had to come back for and ask. So the contract that I received from LaDonna this last week was for what we paid the previous year, which was $553,345.
Okay, I noticed in the difference column, it's not reflecting.
Yes, I can make sure.
Okay, so LaDonna submitted a contract for the 553.
Correct. And I'll make sure that's. I lost my formula there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The 553, that was the number prior to the column change.
I looked at the previous year's contract. That's the same as it was in 23, 24.
Are we sure they're accounting factor?
Oh, shoot. Okay. Just have to make sure we're,
The
Aiming
headlines
for-
of Oklahoma State,
no, I haven't seen that yet.
not a,
Is there something you would like for me to do in regards to the Criminal Justice Authority? I hadn't had a chance to check into that. I just kept that based off of what was done previous to me in regards to not doing any type of increase and leaving it the same as it was.
Well, I would like to take a look at some of what they've been getting. If they're still carrying over a substantial amount of money, that we use some of that to cover the team contract. Since we still not come up with a solution to that.
I believe they're on for tomorrow on CJ.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, they're
presenting
Yeah, but
tomorrow,
you
so we'll get
just
to
asked,
dive
so I've
more into their budget.
Stick my foot in the door.
I think for now, we can leave
Leave
it
it.
the way you have it, and then if there's any adjustments, and there's several things on here, CJA, and others that are contractual, that if they need to be changed, they can be.
This year, which is different than what we've done at least for the past 2 years that I've been here, we are going to put CJA, the economic development, OSHA extension, daily living centers. That was over policy and governance for that committee to review that contract and make a recommendation moving forward, rather than just taking it directly from the chairman's office to the OCC.
What is the ODOT rodent damage control program?
So
That's
that's
the Beaver program.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with ODOT?
So that the USDA and ODOT is who we contract in order to do rodent removal and damage control. And so we've been paying that contract for a very long time, and there's $1,000 increase, and it covers all 3 districts, all the county. No rodents. So I'm assuming
The unincorporated.
rodents.
I'm just wondering what. So it's not something mandated by ODOT. It's something we need done, and ODOT does this, and so.
I think
Okay.
it's a roadkill and unincorporated areas.
Yep.
Removal.
I just know rodents' teeth grow their whole life.
We have.
I didn't know
Is that for you making that up?
you genetically altered them where their teeth weren't growing, they wouldn't need to chew up. Just thought.
They just throw out chew sticks on
Maybe that's all we need to do.
So I will tell you, just because I had received the contracts yesterday for vicinity and took the tour. So for vicinity, there was what was, I guess, on the budget for 2024 and 2025 was $775,000. When I had reached out to him in regards to what the proposed pricing was going to be for the contracts, there's 2. There's one for the courthouse annex, which I listed here, which is $607,116. But there's an additional contract for the detention center at $108.36, excuse me, for the detention center. And so I just need to make sure that they are accounting for that whenever they discuss their budget, since I have the actual numbers.
What was that number again?
108,000. So 608, 36, 608,000, $608,036 for criminal justice for the detention center.
108,000.
108, sorry. 607,000. Yeah.
For the annex.
116 for the annex.
And how much for the detention center? 108?
$608,036. So roughly 12.
You said 108 a minute ago.
Sorry, 608. $608,036. Excuse me. So roughly 1.2 million total.
608.
Look back at those. I just want to make sure they have the number. I don't think they did.
Utilities other, they had 700 and, no, that was last year, they had 672,000. In utilities other. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? Has BOCC made a decision on, well, not BOCC, I guess this would be a PBA. Has PBA made any decisions on rental rate increases and whether those are going to be passed on to
What it sounds like.
county?
Yes, we voted on, they voted on a 2.9% increase, which was indicative of
Okay.
CPI for you.
Okay. I didn't know, because abstract thought that that's what was going to happen
No,
or
that was
whether it's
based off-
actually voted on yet.
At the PBA meeting.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else? If not, is there a motion to receive the general fund, general government 25-26 estimate of needs?
I'll second Jason's motion. Motion.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
So this is my first time, so in regards to the questions that you had today, would you like from me, how would you like from me to follow up?
I think it was
I'll correct.
outside legal,
Outside legal,
insurance premium.
insurance premiums.
We've got to make sure that Esri gets to IT,
And then when we get to CJA, their budget tomorrow will have. Would you like for me to come back and just give an update on those
Yeah.
items?
And I'm curious about how many cases the DA.
Cases, yes.
and the formula on line with the,
Which you extension, yeah, I'll correct that. Okay. I'll be happy to get back tomorrow with those answers.
We did decide to leave team in its own budget, right?
I think we were trying to rally all that and keep it in court service.
Okay. That's what I thought.
And just for the record, what we were voting on was the estimate of needs that was passed down, the one that was in the book.
Thank you for allowing me some time to get some actual numbers on this. Okay, for the county commissioner. The changes that you will see versus what you have currently. I removed every training under the training, the under the travel section for that budget. I will be attending this year inside out to attend next year for sure. It does include my SHRM registration and planning, since I don't have enough funds in my between now and the end of the fiscal year to go to the May planning training. I'll need to go into the following fiscal year. And then in regards to the increase year over year, that includes the increase in my salary and I believe getting each one of the commissioners up to the $147,812. My salary includes what was budgeted for the financial specialist, what was budgeted for the grant specialist. I can give you those numbers if you want.
Yeah, please.
Okay, and I believe when I was told that the original budget to give leeway for increases, that each one of those positions were budgeted at $73,000, but I have the actual numbers of what they were paid this last year. So the BOCC financial specialist was $71,752.08.
Okay.
And the BOCC grant specialist was $61,500.
So I know a few years ago, this group made a recommendation to budget board, and budget board approved the creation of a grants specialist position to help the county get grant funding. Is that?
That is now my position as well as the finance position. In addition, I was voted last month in March in order to handle all of the free fair. In policy and governance, we had discussed, since LaDonna no longer wants those responsibilities, that in policy and governance, we tried to determine who would be able to take on those responsibilities. And then on January 28th, the board decided that they were interested, fair board, and decided that they would like to fund an administrator at $750 per month. And but then they created this position and put in my job description, it also lists the free fair. And so that way I can continue to take care of the responsibilities of the free fair. And the board has voted me to do that. But in their budget, which we will look at next, it did not include that administrative fee, which would be $750 per month at $9,000 a year.
So what happens if budget board, it looks like combining those two positions, the salaries were $133,252.
Which leaves a balance of $13,000.
Yeah, almost $14,000.
Mm-hmm.
Has that been contemplated by BOCC, or is this just another situation like team where we made a call and just
No, she's figured it out.
Well,
no? Where does that?
Hold on, Cody, before you get there, because I want some clarification, because I think it's going to apply to this conversation. Jessica, you indicated that each of those positions was previously budgeted at $73,000.
yeah, which would be $1,000 difference.
Was the $73,000 in the accounts, and we chose to pay lower?
Yes.
Well,
Or not?
They were not, no. And it was also very difficult to find the funds in order to pay the remainder of my salary for this fiscal year, because whenever Nikki moved from purchasing to the clerk's office back to BOCC, it was just about $21,000 moved over, which you'll see in this budget right here. That accounted for what was available and what was transferred
At the time during the
at
year.
the time. Yeah, and it still reflects here.
There's also the budget board actions to be voted on.
So that
This one.
covers me for this fiscal year, which the Free Fair Board was very kind in order to pay me a stipend out of what they had remaining for this year, $2,250 went on to budget board. But for the new fiscal year, either I'd have to ask for their administrative fee in my budget, or I'd have to ask for administrative fee in their budget. And since it falls under my responsibilities as a county manager, I just felt that in my thought that was a way in order to justify that increase of salary that was given to me.
What's the item on budget board this week?
On budget board, there's a few items. There is an item in order to actually go through me. Thank you. Okay. On budget board for Thursday, there is an item in order to transfer $2,250 from the Free Fair General into BOCC General Fund in order to pay for Aaron, who had provided services from that one's mine. April 1st through June 30th is mine, and then there's the same transfer amount of $2,250 from Free Fair General to Engineering General for January through March for services provided to Free Fair. And then the third one is in the amount of $36,630.29. That's from HR Safety, and that is Miranda's salary, her benefits, and capital to go from HR Safety into the County Commissioner's Fund for my salary and benefits. Those are the three items.
So the stipend that you talked about, is that for pay in addition to the county pay, or is that money coming over to the county to allow the county to pay part of the approved salary? Does that make sense?
So the transfer that will happen on Thursday will help pay for the difference in my salary between now and the end of the fiscal year. In regards to next year, we would have to have an increase in order to be able to provide the salary administrative cost. They just happen to have additional funds in their budget that they could use for administrative fees. And during the time that Ladonna decided that she no longer wanted to provide those services.
So did
Hold on. I'm having a hard time figuring out how we're short in that account, right? Because that's the account that encompasses the commissioner's salary as well. There wasn't a commissioner for 6 months.
right?
And so when looking through that, I am able to be funded through June 30 because we accounted for the fact that Jason does not, or Commissioner Lowe does not get paid for the entire month. The reason why there's not, to answer your question, the reason why that there's not an excess of funds, Chantel also looked at this and the payouts that we had. There was a large payout, I believe, 14,000.
There were 6 months
And
worth of payouts. Carrie wasn't here for 6 months.
October, November, December, January, February, March.
And so,
So at
She
least
was
6
funded for a whole
months,
year.
6 months of,
so
I mean, that payout.
Chantel had worked really hard in order to determine where those funds were, and that was the best thing that we could.
That is what I have found so far to date. My full analysis hasn't been completed yet
And the payouts being for the previous
for the previous.
financial person and grant writer.
Yeah.
Correct.
PTO.
As well as, there was a transfer out of fund into HR. So with all the movement of funds, we're just taking all of those things into account as we're looking.
So the transfer that was taken from commissioners to HR, was that budgeted for the financial position?
It's saying it's VOCC administrator transfer to HR, 37,867.16.
And that is scheduled to come back if budget board approves on Thursday. The remaining funds.
At the start of this FY, we've moved around so much. Where were those two positions at? Do we,
At the start of the.
pardon? They were
Go
both?
ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I know who you're talking to. So they were both under the commissioner's fund, and then whenever.
Okay, and they didn't receive $73,000 in salary at the time we started the FY. Is that right? Or not?
That is correct.
They did not receive. They were budgeted 73, but they didn't receive 73.
Total budgeted salary, UCC administrator 71, 1395. But the grant is just saying 26.
When did the grant writer move?
Yeah, is that annualized?
Yeah. And she moved, I have to look back at the exact date of when we moved. Grant writer stayed, remained. And then it wasn't until after we hired Miranda full-time for that position that we moved her to HR safety.
You remember what month that was?
No, I don't, but I'm completely confused how you got 6 months of an elected official salary. I mean, over $70,000 that should have been in that account. Yes, I understand there may have been some payouts, but nowhere near $70,000 of payouts. There's no way. Couldn't carry that much time. I don't know how we would be sure.
Did the grant writer position transfer? I've lost track of time.
I have
When did
too.
the grant writer's position transfer back from when we moved? The purchasing went to the county clerk. The grant writer went with it. Then the grant writer came back.
Yes.
When did it occur within this FY?
No,
Or the year before?
It was
No, it was
before.
without
You mean
having
over the
all the
HR?
data in front of me. My son, I believe the grant writers transferred over January last year or earlier last fiscal year.
Last FY. Okay.
With the approval of a flat budget, the salary was not annualized going into the next year. However, you were paying, there's just multiple components with the commissioners change, the change of where the BOCC administrator funds were, as well as not receiving the annualized amount for the grant writer position. That is what I have right now, but again, I have not finished the full analysis, working with that with Jessica to get all the data collected.
And Chantel has, we have touched base almost every day, but she's also involved in the estimate of needs and her role as CFO. And so I've been really careful on how much time to request from her and learning Eunice and how to pull budgets and just wanted to make sure I've got accurate data.
We did pull all payroll accounting reports as of yesterday. We pulled all those, so we have them. It's just a matter of sitting down and answering a lot of these questions.
So the grant writer was paid more than what was budgeted?
Because the budget wasn't annualized.
Because the budget wasn't annualized. That is what I have right now.
Good.
I still have a lot of.
Was the portion that wasn't annualized, was it still in the purchasing budget? Since if we were flat, because if it wasn't annualized, it's because the part that had been transferred over to the commissioner's account when that position transferred was over here, but the other money wasn't there because it had paid that position for several months. Did that amount stay in the clerk's budget that should have been moved over?
I have not been able to get to the point to answer that question.
Can you please?
Definitely working on all of
Okay, and then you guys can try to figure that stuff out. And then my question's still there though. once we get this figured out, you're absorbing 2 positions, but the pay is about $14,000 more than those other 2 positions. Did BOCC contemplate how you're gonna make up that difference without an increase from budget board?
Well, the free fare stipend was one of the components.
But that's an increase regardless.
Was there another
Because it's not
stipend that was a
something that was-
component?
What do you mean that would have been an
I
increase?
mean, that wasn't something that was budgeted in the previous year, that stipend. So it would be something that would need to be increased and asked for in free fare or increased in regards to role and responsibilities in my role.
So that,
To answer your question, no.
that stipend wasn't already budgeted in free fare.
No.
They just use remaining funds in order to do what policy and governance asked them to do.
So as I recall the
January.
explanation on this, you guys can correct me. When BOCC did this, we were told we were $1,000 short and be able to, when we took the 2 positions to pay Jessica, we're $1,000. That was the way I understood the conversation.
And when I asked what was budgeted for those 2 positions, because prior to that job being discussed, I was told $73,000 each. And so that's,
But I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, but it didn't turn out.
And
that
we
it was
knew,
actually
because
paid that way.
What?
Yeah. That's where the 1,000 short. Then we were looking at stipends.
yeah, but those would be sustainability. Would be sustainable
Nations, whatever.
long term, maybe back in the same situation.
It's not a problem for the current year because we have money because we didn't pay an elected official for 6 months, but it is an issue that's need to address next year, right?
Right.
Jessica, when we're looking, I'm on your salary sheet, and we're looking at fiscal year 25. It's self-explained, the salary adjustments, the three amounts for the commissioners. And then we have your pay, we're taking out the 2 positions. Explain, what is the 37,867.16 that's added right there?
Should help prepare that. And keep record behind this.
This is part of the formula in the form, because we have the negative to show the transfer. The formula in the form carries it over to show just the difference. So there's zero request for it. But because it's a negative, it shows as a positive on this side to be part of the calculated difference.
We just cancel it out.
It's a negative on one side, positive on the other in order to cancel each other out. The main part that carries over to the worksheet is that middle section where it says total requested salary. So the 500 number in the middle is what carries over.
So when you're looking at this, it won't be 109,000.
That is the difference between 1 year to the other. Because those funds are needed back in order to make up the number up here
For the commissioners.
No, the form's not.
And if we could go back just a minute and not the 73 that was budgeted because it wasn't annualized. What was the actual salary that was approved for those 2 positions?
Their paid salary or what was the approved
Paid
budget?
Paid salary,
$133,252.
here's the 2.
8. Okay. For 1 nickel. $61,500. 13,700, 17,980. What's the difference? All right, does anybody have anything else?
Just kind of talking out loud, I mean, maybe some of the shortfall could be also, because I don't think those commissioner salaries are right for FY 24-25. Commissioner bonds would have been lower, of course, because he would have succeeded himself until January, but the other two aren't right.
That's what I'm looking at. That's gotta be what it is.
That's part of the issue.
It's part of the this year
Yeah.
issue, but not the next year.
About that issue short of.
But they all will be the 147, 812.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Easy to keep up with, for sure.
So on the fringe benefits, the retirement defined contribution is going up $14,481. But we had those 5 positions at some point budgeted in there. Why is it that much of an increase?
Always went up 109,000.
See, I don't see how that is.
About 20%. Between 14 and 9.
Well, that 109 also includes the commissioners' increases. Because it's showing from 140 to 1.7 for each.
What's that, almost $38,000 at the bottom that we were
That's
discussing?
what I'm questioning.
Yeah. It's factoring into that.
Yeah.
On the monthly mileage, it's a little different now. My understanding is the statute changed, so the elected officials can choose an amount not to exceed instead of before it was a flat amount. Have those determinations been made as to what mileage each one of the commissioners are gonna take?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is something we can have on that. And the amount with each one of the commissioners.
Any other questions on this one? Anybody? All right, yeah, Chantel, if you could try to get us that stuff, and then if you guys can let us know if we stay flat budget like we have in the past, how you guys are gonna fund that extra 14K. I think it'd be good to know. Yep.
Okay, Mr. Parker, the Free Fair chairman, has joined us today.
Is this one different than the one that's in the book as well?
Yes, very much. There you go.
You want me to take the beating for a little bit?
No, let me start out, and you get off the walk yet. So,
I'm good at taking the beating. Everybody was laughing, and other people got mentioned.
So the reason why I made the changes to this budget is I wanted to be able to give a clear understanding of their line items in regards to their shifts. It was very difficult to understand what was being used for what area. And they had included salaries in the first budget, and they do not have salaried employees, nor do they have FICA and Medicaid. So what they do have is judges that they pay fees to for all of these different shifts. So I moved everything down to general fund, and then Jeff, you want to join me up here? And so that way, and then I clearly defined what each one of their budgetary items entails, so that way we can be able to, year to year, look at what increases happen with the Jones High School and what increases possibly happen with the state fair, outdoor exhibits, and such. And so I budgeted an increase of $100 for postage. The postage continues to go up. Jeff had a really, really great idea as chairman this year that they have a rule book that they're printing year over year. And what he's wanting to do is print a permanent book and then add a just supplemental each time that there's any changes.
Yeah, to print a hard copy book and just give 1 or 2 page supplement. Y'all kill enough trees like we do print stuff out. So.
And so that's what that $2,500 increase entails.
That's a guesstimate because I haven't talked to my printers, but you know, that's I don't know what it costs for me to get stuff. That's all.
They didn't do a lot of advertising, but they do advertise for their elections. And so I just did a small increase. Would like to advertise more, as was suggested when I got in here, but we can work on that towards the future. In regards to premium and awards, there was a $2,364 increase due to growth in shows. Jones, I split out, there are $32,878 that they had in the past in order to show what shows that they were anticipating, which actually came to around 30, I believe that was. And then miscellaneous supplies, their judges spot fees for $4,600, so that would have been what they were previously paying out of salaries. And then they have a need this year of $15,000 for new cattle scales and capital outlay.
And can I mention something about that stipend and all that? We cut a horse show. We agreed as a fair board to get some inside help. So we're going around the loops to get anything done. So to cut out the middleman, we agreed to pay $750 a month. We tightened our belt to cover the $4,500 in this fiscal year. It's up to them, however they want to crunch the numbers up. If you want us to request $9,000 a year for salary, we can't. I mean, but we tightened our belt to help the whole situation. We're just not, we're trying to run it like a business, and it's just, you got to make the hard call. Yeah, you get rocks thrown at you, but that's just part of it. But I heard earlier, District 3 and District 2 numbers are increasing out in Eastern Oklahoma County, or kid numbers are going up. That's why I put an increase for the wages or the payouts. We're starting to see a lot influx of more kids showing sheep and goats because it's their first time, and we're taking care of everybody. Please don't throw rocks at her, throw rocks at me. Okay? Because I can take it. Worst thing you do is fire me. Hit me with it. Y'all were laughing and joking.
On the Jones show and the Oklahoma State Fair show, the 15 and 14, was that not anything budgeted the previous year?
Okay, we budgeted $9,000. Jones went up from $9,000 a year to $15,000 a year on their building. So it just puts it right back in the state park ball game And I'm working with Senator Jett on House Bill 935, or Senate Bill 935, to bypass the insurance issues with State Fair Park. If the county's leasing it, that's another different cat, but I'm fighting all the fronts right now, people.
To your question, Christie, I think it's like 32.
Show
Yeah.
detail.
It's just broken it into individual line items.
Yeah, it was
So where is it?
The 32,878,
Yeah, it's above.
54102.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm with you.
But I threatened this last year that we're being held hostage and it's just getting worse. But I know everything's going up and I don't care if you give us $10, we're still gonna put the show on whether you like it or not. Just, you gotta go to outside sources of will.
So on the new cattle scales, can you explain what that's needed for?
Boys Ranch, I won't go Baptist Boys School, they're big into cattle now. Our cattle numbers increased. And with Jones, we can't just leave scales there, so we have to move them. They're white scales, they're digital scales. They're contain a big animal. They've been using like sheep and goat scales and built a little cage out, and then cattle are getting bigger and fatter and we broke it. And we don't need kids' animals because, trust me, well, them animals are more than what you're driving.
So that's something that you have to have for.
No, don't have to have. We'd love to have it, but we don't have to have it. We can make do with anything. Just like this, I can revamp those little bitty scales, but you're dealing with some good high dollar animals and yeah, they're all going straight to Hawaii. You're showing year round, so yeah. But we used to deal with a lot of 800-900 pounders for steers. Now we're weighing 1,500 to 1,800 pounds. So we need, not saying I put on weight, but I have. The scale just keeps going up. Hey, I got a little chuckle starting. That's good.
Okay, so the show detail for last year, 32,878.
Yes, ma'am.
What lines below that are now being funded that would have been in that 32? So obviously the two shows, Jones and
So just, sorry, I can highlight those. So what would have been funded in the 32 is the Jones High School, the Oklahoma State Fair, and indoor exhibits. So that's actually a decrease of $2,878. I had a hard time because it wasn't budgeted that way. I could put a little line item to the side in regards to the difference, but there was an increase in Jones High School, but I feel like we're missing.
Okay, the State Fair Park was $7,000 for the horse show. Well, that's $14,000.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
No,
But
do two shows.
when you come over here and have a difference of 32, it just skews everything when you're
Well,
looking at.
I'm
So
not
we
a
just need to
spreadsheet person,
figure out.
so I can tell you last year versus this year.
That's fine.
Off the top of my head.
It's fine breaking it out.
I just canceled it out and then put what the new expenses were, is what I did.
Well, it's
Good.
nice because it has more transparency.
Yeah.
No, I like
You see the
it.
actual line items.
Broken out, not necessarily.
I just canceled that, but what I could have done is highlight for you so you would have understood what was
part of that.
That's how I broke it out. That's why I broke it out to Jessica. I mean,
Jessica, I think you explaining it and then you left the codes, the 54102, the same for those others. So
I don't know
I think
codes
it's
yet, so I can update that.
no.
No,
I
you
mean,
did right.
what I'm saying is that all of those have 54102, which was the same code
Okay,
that
so
you had
that'll-
before.
yes.
So they all match. So
I did that.
yeah, no.
that's why they don't let me touch a computer.
Yeah, well, Jess put in some late hours of me emailing him at night. I'm going, no, how many beers are you doing? So he's worked hard in order to get a more detailed budget at the last minute. So I appreciate your time.
I mean, if you need kid numbers, I mean, I can break it down to a pound if you need to. I mean,
No.
to me, you don't need all that information. Just, that's basically what it costs to put the show on, period. Without us cutting corners, yeah, we cut $4,500 out of the budget just to pay some wages, but that's just part of doing business.
How many scales does 15,000 buy?
One, That's a digital scale, it's
Scale,
on,
individual, scale.
Singular.
And then,
that's, okay, it's about 10 foot long, about 4 foot wide, has a
That's
couple
okay.
wheels on it.
it has plural,
That's what
so I
they
didn't
break
know.
out when I go to the
When he
doctor.
gave it to me, it's plural, so.
That's come out very clean, you can, it's transportable.
And then on the rule book, you said you were printing one every year?
We've been printing, okay, let me back up. OSU has been printing one every year. So they're printing like 100 books at 25, 30 pages a pop, and all we're doing is need to make 2 page changes every time. So we're just cutting out all that stuff. Just if the fair board members change, that'll be in the supplement, and where the show location will be on another supplement, and the rule book stays the same.
Do they have to have a physical rule book, or is it something that could be transitioned to an online platform?
We have an online rule book too, but LaDonna requests 100 rule books. And her with OSU, that's what I'm going.
Well, if she wants to pay for it.
That's why I'm in this mess right now with the 4,500 staffing to start with. But
So if
we're
we're only printing a few pages and not a full book every year.
not,
They need to print the full book, though.
To start.
Is what I'm hearing. So we need a full book to start out with, and then
because we're gonna put a lot of man hours putting the book together, and if we print it every year. I mean, yeah, we get paid big bucks being on fair board. But we'll put in the long hours to,
But you were printing them every year, right?
yes, ma'am.
but I think what I'm hearing is LaDonna was paying for it.
And it was still coming out of the fair board.
Oh, it was coming out of the fair
Yes,
board.
sir.
But, I guess year over year, it's only 500.
Yeah, 500 just for wages and paper. Just so we can put a different kid's picture on the front.
So I guess the question is, if it
Why
costs
is it going
$500 each year.
Because I was
to print it,
taking it to a physical printer, so we'll have a rule book that will last, say, 10 years instead of printing a new one every year. Instead of spending $300 or $500 a year printing every year, if I get 5 or 10 years out of it, I've saved money.
So is it a higher quality? Is that why you need 3,000 versus the 5?
Because it'll last instead
It'll
of
last,
having somebody print the book out every year.
rather than, I guess, printing it from a printer.
Yes, that's what we're doing.
So it'll be a nice publication that they can
Just
just add
like-
supplemental into.
We call it the Bible. I mean, because that's, we have to go by the rules, and if it's all uniform on the same page, you know where to put it.
But all you're really changing is the commissioners and the,
Well, that I missed the first part.
all that's changing in the rule book are the commissioners and the
date.
show dates.
And that's it. If there's a major rule change, which we've hammered them rules out hard the last 3 years and have it where we want it. We don't have to have the major printing. I'll try to take the load off and do it right.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we didn't have the information, if we couldn't have our IT department load the rule book onto our county website.
It's on the website.
Okay.
I'm not jumping ahead, but if you go to the free fair, it's there.
So then why do we need the physical copy every year?
Donna hands it out to the OSU extension agents and all the little old ladies that are in, I say little old ladies, the indoor exhibits, you know, the sewing group, and so they can look through and see. We're still dealing with the elder crowd for the indoor exhibits. Most of them are not real computer savvy. I'm not being mean, but it's just, we have a lot of aged people that, but the rule book is online. Our fair dates are online. Everything, if you go to your Oklahoma County website on the free fair, it's there. She's learned that. She asked me a question, look at the website.
Very, but it is all there. I can just attest to that.
Trust me, if we could all go digital, that wouldn't hurt my feelings. I'll still print one out, so when we have a problem at the show me where I'm going.
Yeah.
I got the teeth right there in my hand. You can scratch that. I mean, I'm trying to appease. I've stepped away from OSU. If I don't have to step back, it won't hurt my feelings. No, still water.
All right, anybody have any other questions, comments? Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you guys.
Is there a motion to receive the general fund estimate of needs for county commissioners, free fare, and general government as handed out and presented?
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve or to receive. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstention?
Yeah.
Ayes have it.
Am I free to go?
You are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all probably next year. I don't know.
Okay.
Yes, good. You need me?
No, thank you so much for being here. So I do have, I wasn't sure about this, and I can definitely bring it back tomorrow whenever I come back to discuss the things that I've learned, follow up from today. But the economic development falls under general fund, but it has a separate budget. And so I didn't know if that was one that I needed to speak on. Currently,
Which one?
and you have it in your book.
I
I
was
didn't make
making
any
notes here.
changes
What
to
were
it.
you?
General economic development, general fund, 1001.
That's the one with the 250,000.
Correct. It's one of the contracts I'm going to put across policy governance that I'm responsible for, but I wasn't sure you wanted me to discuss it today. Okay. So the 250,000 is a contract that we have with the Greater Plain City Foundation. It funds economic development for Tinker Air Force Base. So they're wanting $250,000 again. I have not seen anything otherwise, unless Trendy, have you received anything from the Commissioner Mont's office? But I believe that P1 had an additional recommendation.
Yeah, so as you all will recall, the legislature removed our ability to provide social services. Within the social services budget, going back a number of years, was a contract with Embark for service to northeastern Oklahoma City. The furthest reach of that route was Marymount Center, which still exists. When we lost social services, we lost the ability to fund that contract, and we cut that route. Embark is, Ryan's been in some of these meetings, so he can help me out, but Embark is looking at discontinuing that service or modifying it greatly, and it won't reach that area of the county anymore. Commissioner Lowe would like to consider picking that contract back up under economic development. It is, in addition to being able to previously reach our social services, it is a way for people who live in that part of the county to get back and forth into Oklahoma City for jobs and other services that they need. So I think, and I'd have to go back and look, but I believe at one point in time previous to it going into social services, it may have actually been included in the economic development budget. I'm not 100% certain on that. Brian, the number is around what? Is it one? So looking at some number to fund that, you're sitting on, you heard today, $1.4 million. So it wouldn't be an overall budget increase. It would be a shifting of cost centers from what had previously been social services into economic development. So we'll be bringing that up, but I just want to put that on everyone's radar, going forward.
And how much did you say that about the embark contract funds?
Ryan thinks it's it's 180 or less. They were wanting an increase. I think, is that the number, Ryan? What, 180 is inclusive of what they would like us to consider increasing to? I think
And Ryan and I can work on that and update this budget for tomorrow as well. I just wasn't sure.
What was that budgeted for when it was in social services?
It was access, it was for embark.
no.
But how
what was
much?
the amount? Was it one? I'm off the top of my head. It's at 150, 155. I thought, but don't hold me to that. I haven't.
But I can reach out or Ryan can reach out and get the exact number if that's something you want to include in the economic development.
It would be helpful to know the ridership.
Ridership.
It's not great. I will tell you that up front. I'll tell you that the ridership is not great.
Neither are the trolleys.
And this bus route's a lot cheaper, isn't it? But because the ridership isn't necessarily great, doesn't lessen the impact of the route for those who are riding it and relying on it.
Yeah.
So, we make tough decisions regarding the services that we're going to provide. And so we would strongly like to see that picked up and continue.
It was 150,000.
150. My memory worked. Okay.
Joe.
Joe, is it just the stop to the Maroon Center, or is it?
What's that?
Are there other stops?
Yeah, there are other stops along the way. Yeah, Ryan, we can get a.
It's not the ones.
Joe,
it's not
the Route 19, according to social services estimate of needs here from last year was 133,379.
The contract was for 150.
That's how much the county was contributing to this.
Okay. This may not be accurate. But that's
Yeah, we
what
may
it's
have had
on.
an increase at some point, Cody. I don't remember. Just something to put on the radar.
Was that one of those that we had talked about before that we need to reinstitute that economic development council?
No, we continued to fund the chamber.
Right,
Yeah.
but you jumped through that hurdle as well for this.
It could be just like day living centers where we've moved it out of social services to a contract that we look at every year.
And we got some homework to do.
Yeah, but it's different though, because what Joe's talking about is economic development. So you follow the statutes for economic development funding. This one, there's a specific statutory reference for senior centers. So
I was
Yeah,
since it was both-
we're gonna.
actually, in the past, we've been told on certain things that we're going to go economic development, and that economic development board reinstituted, whatever. And there may be an exception for this. That's
I want
I was
this on
just-
your radar. We've got some work to do to look, but I don't want to surprise somebody at the last minute saying, oh, by the way, we're going to enter a contract. And everyone thought that contract had gone away. We're just pursuing something that we've been doing in the past a different way.
And the reason why I brought it up, because he had said, since we found it under social services, and that's where the living centers also was transferred out. So I didn't realize it had to do with statute, so I apologize. I had the same question, so. I was just trying to make it easy.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you bringing that up.
Absolutely.
Okay, is there a motion to receive the FY 25-26 general fund economic development estimate of needs?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second? Paul, did you say? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right. What's everybody's timeline look like today?
Midnight.
Not me.
Okay. My bedtime's 9.
About 4 o'clock.
Yeah. Just keep me when I need to.
All right, let's keep on trucking then. We'll go back up to the top, Mike.
Thank you. We'll start off with Assessor General.
This one here.
Way at the front. Way at the very front. Yeah, first one.
Everybody ready? Buckle in.
All right. We're gonna start off with unencumbered funds. We're anticipating coming back just under 182,000. That'll be something to consider as we move forward down the road. Looking at salaries, we do have a small decrease in our salaries. Some of that is based on the change from Gabe and Tim moving over to MIS. So decrease of a little over 31,000. Okay, with fringe and travel. Moving on to M&O, you'll see some changes. Everybody's already mentioned postage. Postage for us is just an ever increasing number. If you haven't seen, I think the feds are looking at another increase in June or July. So if you haven't addressed it, you might want to look at that for yourselves. But we're looking at a $10,000 increase there. The other increase is going to be our Just Appraise service, which provides our online filing services. They had a contractual increase. There is a decrease with that change for the ESRI training and the credits. That's all going to fall back over into the MIS side as well. So M&O is going down about 27.5, which is good. Moving on to capital, the first line you'll see is a $125,000 increase. If you remember last year in September, you provided me $100,000 to start what I considered phase 1 of our remodel, which we have just received our 3 quotes to build our teller windows. And so we would like to continue that momentum to redevelop the public to move forward, as I'm anticipating flooring could be an issue, as well as providing some security doors to provide security access for our employees. But that's not going to happen immediately. So if it's something we need to watch this, I'm perfectly fine doing that. That's what we did last year, that same approach. As we move into September, we're fine with that.
When do you think you need that? When's the phase 1 coming to foot?
Phase 1, I'm hoping that we start it here pretty quickly. And I'm hoping that it's done by the end of the fiscal year so that we can move on. Okay. Yeah. That's our goal. Moving on down the line, you'll see an increase of capital of 118,000. Some of that's going to be computers, personal computers for about 13,000 of that. 125,000 is what we call a data domain. It's really basically 2 backup services that we build. One is on site, the other is at Midcon. It's 125,000, so it's a total of 118,000 increase. Other than that, you're going to see some.
What was the 13,000 for computers?
13,000 for PCs,
And
then 125,000 for dual backups, one in this building and one at Midcon. That's for all of our data backups, for all of our appraisal data, photos, and so forth.
Is that a one-time?
Yes.
One-time expense?
Yeah. Yeah, we try to rotate that on the basis of every 3 to 4 years based upon that equipment, about the life expectancy of it, the way that equipment changes and technology, better, faster, more, all of that.
And can some of that be done on reval?
From what I'm seeing here, this is the side that we carry. So that's typically, I think, what we build it out at. Our capital. So.
There's some computer software that we're gonna have to pick up as well. It's Adobe and Kofax. Kofax is our scanners so that we digitize all of our documentation. But overall, if we were to include that phase 2 of the remodel, it's about 254,000 increase. If we take the remodel off the watch list, it drops down to just under 130. So moving forward to complete the general fund budget, it's right at 202,200, which is a 5% increase. Or if we watch list the remodel, it drops our ask down to 77,200, which is just a 2%. Any questions on the general fund?
I have a question kind of to piggyback Cody on the 118, the amount for that backup.
Mhm.
I can see why you probably can't do it all out of reval because it's probably backing up everything the assessor does,
It is.
not just visual inspection, but
Correct.
could there be maybe a portion of it paid out of 2 funds?
It's something that I can look at. I don't know the percentages of I don't know that we allocate a certain amount for storage space or service for that part, but I can do some work on that, see.
Just curious.
Sure. And is that something that either way that needs to be done at the beginning of the fiscal year, or are those items that could be addressed in September supplement? From what I've been told, we would prefer to have that up front because the ones we have now are aged. And we prefer to have, if you don't have a backup system, you're going to be in trouble, particularly with the amount of data that we have. So it's been an emphasis to me that we need that up front. Any others? Anybody have any questions? If not, then moving on to our reval. We've been talking about, just to remind everybody that reval is about a 10% charge to the county. The rest is required through all those individuals that receive ad valorem, mostly the schools, cities, so forth. We anticipate an encumbrance of about 150,000 of that as well. That will not be billed. In our review of things, it looks like last year in September, when we made those amendments to those budgets, we amended our general fund, but we did not amend our funds to reval. So when you're seeing some of these changes in, particularly in contracts, those are almost a 2-year roll-up as a result of it. So if you see an increase of, say, a $10,000 contract, you'll see $20,000 actually picking up last year and this year. So as we move through these, I kind of want you to kind of keep that in mind. But overall, the salaries are going to go down again. That's because of Tim and Gabe moving over to MIS, and the fringe is down as a result of that. Postage, we're adding an additional $40,000. Just like the treasurer, we're mailing close to 500,000 pieces of mail a year annually. So printing and binding is contract, it's up. Our near map services, you'll see, is a 21,000 increase. It's actually just a 10,000 increase, but for double year, it's going to be the 21,000. But that's the near map service. That's our aerial imagery that gets imagery to every employee in the county if they wish it. The newest thing that you're going to see is the professional services, where we're increasing it up to 52,500. My general counsel is saying that she's going to need that money in regards to hiring expert witnesses in regards to our litigations that we know they're coming up. This year we have worked hard at a lot of
commercial buildings, particularly those apartments, a lot of industrial buildings, which typically have the most appeal rate on them, and they are the most valued properties, which take expert legal witnesses as well. So she's asking to carry more money in that to bring on those expert witnesses moving forward.
So it's more to help appraise, not like cases against the assessor's office.
It would be both, that we would have the appraisal side of it, and we would have to have the expert witnesses to justify that valuation if we were to go litigation.
Still connected to value.
Still
which is why
value,
it's
yeah,
okay.
absolutely, yes. The ESRI increase shows at a 26.9, but that's really a double year roll up. So it's really just over a 10,000 increase on our side. Same thing with Catalyst. Catalyst is our appraisal software system. It's going up. You'll see a $45,000 increase in regards to cost tables. Those cost tables are tables that help us use information to generate values on what we call a cost approach, meaning if a new structure or a new building comes in place, we take those materials and it builds out a cost value based upon the materials that are used for that purpose. We are going to a different cost table, which is less than what we've used in the past. If you can think of 45,000 is less. The Marshall and Swift is about 125,000 versus the tables that we're going to be using at the 45,000. So we're trying to save money there when we can. Small change in contract for Apex. Small change in our task contract. That's a service that we use that helps us value oil and gas properties specifically. We move down to the increase of contract 3,500, which is our property change detection, which tells us we use our aerial imagery and then we put our building footprints on it, and it scores us based upon how well we did or how poorly we did in regards to measuring all of our properties. It really builds out our work schedules too annually. We don't start our field work until we actually have that in place. CoStar is a contract increase. We use that information to help pull information for commercial properties in regards to using the income approach evaluation so that we get income statements, rental rates, cap rates. Small increase for get imaging quote or contract. And a $30,000 increase on our Microsoft Azure contract, which is our cloud service for our GIS hosting. And then, of course, we have $4,000 contract in regards to our computers and how much we run through our computer machines. But all those overall increases is about $227,000 total.
I'm just curious, what's Toad SAS?
Toad
More
is
Sassy Toad.
Toad is a computer language model, if you will, that allows us to build all of our queries and so forth outside of our appraisal system. So if we need to pull data, we use Toad to build our SQL statements.
Just curious.
So you got 227 increase, but how much of that 227 is spread out over, like you said, 2 years or 3 years? Well, I can't give you an exact number on that except for the contracts. The contracts increases are almost 2 years, but some of those, like the postage, is of course not a contract. Neither is the professional services. So 92.5 of it is non-contractual. Any other questions on M&O?
we'll move down to capital. Again, we're trying to acquire more computers, looking for 10 for a cost of $26,500. We're looking at computer software for Adobe and of course Microsoft 365, and some other additional software for IBM, which is SPS, which helps us in our valuation model. So overall capital is about just under 35,000. So if we add all that together, we're just looking at $100,000 over previous year, which is a 1.7% increase in regards to reval.
And the county share is only 10%.
Yeah.
We fill out the rest.
And I've got some other numbers I want to throw at you too, that if you don't have any questions, I'll wait and do that. Any questions? All right, shoot. Larry would shoot me if I don't tell you that we provide 82% of the overall county general fund. So he says, you're welcome.
Gave me the gun.
He also asked me to look at a different number approach this year. Our office in our property valuations generated $1.231 billion tax revenue last year overall. And when we divide that on a per employee basis, each of our employees generates $14.151 million in revenue per employee. So that's less
How much
than.
do we get?
Yeah. So just one employee is generating more than what we receive in general and reval. So I think that the return on the investment I wish I could make an investment that yield that type of a.
So if we need so much more money, we just hire that many employees.
Sounds like it.
That would be a nice fit work that. That's it. Okay. Any questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to receive the assessor's general fund, regular and reval estimate of needs?
Anything on your revolving fee?
I don't have anything on it. Such a small fund. All right, is there a motion to receive?
So moved.
We got a motion to receive estimate of needs. Is there a second?
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That is that. All right. Albert.
We'll start off with the self-insurance.
All right, let it, where's the?
Very back, other house.
You studied.
All right, which one are you starting with?
Self-insurance.
Okay.
As you can see on your FY 24-25 projection, we had a transfer amount of 430,000. So I just kind of kept saying going forward for the 25-26. So, and then that would, your expenses here, this is your 3-year average for 25-26, which is at 19,498, and then your deposition is 275,610. So for total 295.
On the deposition services, that's $707,000. Do you know how much of that is just strictly county non-jail trust related versus how many of those deposition services are encompassed in litigation that involves both parties?
I didn't know that I can find out.
Okay, and if you could find out, the ones that involve both parties, is the county paying for all of these deposition services, or is the trust paying for any of these deposition services?
I will find out.
Thank you. Anybody have any thoughts on this one?
You have to watch that amount. I know the 3-year average, but we've already done quite a bit this year, so I'll have to watch.
Okay. Workers' comp?
As hot as it's getting in this room, you're about to have another case after this.
I asked them to turn some air.
And
Yes,
I know Cassie's sent word to somebody, I think when Keith left the. Turned that.
It's warm.
Smoke
I would if I knew how to do it.
None of these things work. I mean, it'll make
Child
you
proof.
think it works. It'll actually move the number, but it seems it's just laughing at you. Look at this joker.
It's a two-way mirror.
Joe, you know where that part is that was supposed to be in October, November last year?
40 years ago?
Yeah.
October of what year?
So as far as the workers' comp goes, the 24.5 projection, same thing, I kind of kept the similar transfer amount. I don't know if you guys want to keep it the same or lower it on that, as far as that aspect goes. But down below there, your expenses, those are your projected expenses. 2025, 26 projection, but your admin fees to Oaks Investment. That's from what I found, that's 5,000 per month for a total of 60,000 for the year. And then on your, there's the next one, which is your insurance bond, the Beckman Company. For that one, our current actual is at 231,140. So I didn't know quite sure how much of a percentage influx or decrease that kind of goes. Because as you can see in previous years, 2021 you had 159, 21, 22 you had 129, 22, 23 you had 151, 23, 24 it jumped up to 187, and then your actuals as of this current fiscal year is 231. So it seems like a steady increase over every fiscal year. So, and then on your multiple injury trust fund, the MIDF, looks like in prior year, as of now, some years it's up, some years it's down. As far as the projection goes, I just took 6% of total claim, which is that $350,000 amount, to get that there. And then your workers' comp court, been 1,000 consistently over the years, so the same way with your actuary study. And then your claims, it kind of varies from fiscal year to fiscal year. Sometimes it's down, sometimes it's high. So I left it at the 350, kind of an estimate based on prior years as to how it fluctuated. which gives you, ending cash balance at 798,806 with that total revenue increase.
I think it looks good to start. It's a healthy beginning fund balance, which helps, so. And it looks like projecting a better ending balance.
All right, if there's not any questions, is there a motion to receive the estimated needs for fiscal year 25-26 for self-insurance fund and workers' compensation fund? Second? A motion second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. I'm assuming one abstention.
Yes.
All right. Jason? It's your turn. Are you going to stay on this one?
The handbook.
All right, look for your pink sheet. Okay, there it is, right?
This is showing $131,000 increase. That is the sum total of the increase for the elected official. And it was a part of the purchasing budget before it was moved to our office that had already been spent. And so when the revenue was transferred from that, we only received the partial year that was unspent. This increase would bring us up to that full annualized amount. So that's the two figures that go into that increase. Just annualize the purchasing funds and the elected officials.
How many do you have it in purchasing? How many people?
3.
Why was the benefits increase? Like
They have a shortage of benefits to them. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that shortage?
Remember that, Intel?
I have a note that shows a benefit calculation shortage of 73,000.
73,000?
Yeah.
Shortage? Or are you talking about with the increased salary request that you would need that increase?
So this,
It's about 70,000. I mean, I think it's that number.
based on,
Just CDD. And there's only based on.
benefits received was 893 last year's budget, but due to the salary amount that was received in the budget, they should have received 966,000 in benefits. So there's a miscalculation on the benefit portion, receiving less money in that benefits bucket to cover the approved salary amount. Same calculation error that we're finding in multiple budgets.
Where do you have that plugged in at though?
Yeah, all the ones are showing.
That shortfall is not calculated for our.
That's what I was gonna say, because I mean, 182, that's about 8% of the 2.3, and the 286 is about, I should have done math, but that's about 12%. Yeah, so. You see what I'm saying, Chantel?
I'm sorry, were you talking about the adopted budget column?
No, on the proposed budget, is that where? Because the increase for 25-26 is, it's commensurate with a $2.3 million ask for salaries. That 7.65% is, that'd be about 182,000 of that. 286 would be the 12%. So you're saying it's not plugged into the numbers.
We were not going to ask for shortfall from our benefits from this fiscal year.
Okay.
We're only asking for what we didn't receive on the remaining purchasing budget and the increase in the elected official salary.
So when you say the amount that you didn't receive from purchasing, where's that money? Where did that money go? That you
in the
didn't
estimate
get?
of needs, where is it?
Well, no.
Oh, it was spent before the transfers.
Oh, okay.
It was
Spent where?
expended while purchasing was still,
Its own
before the
department.
yes.
Yeah. So that money just got swept up into the entire general fund budget then?
Yes. It was noticed, I believe, because there was a line item, after the final budget board at the beginning of the year. There was 122 flat, but no, appropriation attached to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it just makes it look like there's a budget increase. It's just not representative of the salary increase, but on the FY 24-25, instead of getting 377, you should have got probably 460 to make those the 20% rule. $2.3 million in salaries and benefits. 20% of that would have been closer to 460 instead of the 377. So I just know where that. I don't know where that went. So where did the 460 minus the 377 go? I'm talking about this on the current year's budget, and how are you going to be able to pay that through this year? That's pretty sizable.
When you say 460, you're talking about your FICA and retirement.
Yeah, so like if you take the $2.3 million, multiply that times 20%, that should be about 460,000. But instead, it looks like you actually got 377, so you're almost 100,000 short. You're 83,000 short.
182 is 460,000.
Say that again.
The 182 and
Right, but on
186?
but on the
You're talking
adopted.
about this year that was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We had almost a $70,000 shortfall
Okay.
this current fiscal 24-25.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Which,
And that just got swept up in the general fund budget.
right.
Okay.
And that forced us to make moves, into our special funds that now we're having to make up for.
Gotcha.
Okay, we've got to, this isn't related to you guys because we've had this already a few times. We've got to do a better job of tracking when we move positions from one budget to another and mid-year so that we're tracking where that money should go for the next fiscal year how much it needs, is already in that, how much should we transfer into that budget versus how much has been spent previously in that fiscal year out of another budget. That way you were making sure to get all of those dollars lined up into the next fiscal year budget in the appropriate account that it should. Because we've missed a few. So. Any questions? Jason? Okay. Is there a motion to receive the estimate of needs for the county clerk's office for FY 25-26? Motion.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Okay. Christie.
Okay. Excise and county audit, I thought. And then I don't.
Oh, yeah.
Are
I
we
forgot you
looking
did
at
this.
special revenue funds or no? Some we got present and some we haven't.
I mean, we generally don't do anything with those. It's
That's fine.
up to you
In the
guys.
past, we always have, but if
Yeah,
we're not,
yeah.
that's fine.
But to kind of save some time today,
Okay.
if we want to go back through them, we can, but
Gotcha.
Okay, this is the salary increase is to address a cut that could not have been made last year, as I understand it. Slight increase in mileage, which is largely driven by the number of meetings they have. Publications, that's just, the more meetings, the more you have to put in the paper. So a total increase of 10,000.
so what's the salary adjustment again?
My understanding is there was a cut that should not have been made, and we're gonna have to request 5,500, what is it, this year, 5,500? This year to break even, we just haven't requested yet, but it needs to be $44,250.
Are those salaries, are they statutorily driven? How does that work?
Yes, they are statutorily.
There.
Okay. Next.
County audit. This is less office space of 25,085 because, as I understand it, the auditor can no longer house here, somewhere else. We don't have that space.
All right. Is there a motion to receive the county audit and county excise board estimate of needs?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Motion second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
Yeah.
Christie, you are up.
This will be our first full year where we get to take advantage of the House bill that passed last year, effective November 1, which allows us, it lifted the restrictions on our resale property fund, and we can now, for this full fiscal year, fund any operations out of our office out of resale. So ours has significantly decreased. It's about 3% of our operations coming out of general fund. General fund is now just funding so we decreased it a shift of $992,781. So the only thing left in general fund is which is salary, travel, phone, and then we have some bank fees, and it's the depository bank that covers most elected officials and departments. We can't do that out of resale since it covers operations outside our office. So, again, just 238,938 is our request. This will be the first full year.
Wow.
Yes, we worked hard for it.
Is there anyone that would like to enthusiastically receive the estimate of needs for the treasurer's office? Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to receive estimate of needs for the treasurer's office for FY 25-26. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Jason voted twice.
That's it. Talk about walking the fence. All right. It is approved. All right, Joe. There's a good one.
If it's right, I did it. If it's wrong, it's because Cody left. Basically, this was submitted prior to Commissioner Vogt taking office. And the biggest change that you'll see for us is not knowing how the staffing would work out. Requested an additional position for this year. I believe that the intent is to utilize that position. And so the biggest driver in the increase in our budget would be that position. So for the salary, the associated benefits, and then I want to thank Ryan in our office for working with Chantel, trying to get this thing figured out. Like many of you, we have transfers within the year, so trying to match numbers up to what they had in the estimate needs when they gave it to us. So we're asking for a slight increase over what we had done last year. And keep in mind, I don't know how the other districts do this, but with respect to the salaries that we pay the downtown staff, those are prorated during the year, with highway cash picking up some portion of those salaries. And we only pay one position for an entire year out of general fund, and then that's up to the person that's out front desk. So the plan would be with the new position to also prorate that. Typically, it's a 9 and 3 split.
What is this new position? What is this? A what assistant? I can't read it.
Management assistant.
Management.
We were able to make it through the year this year because Cody left. You're welcome. Yeah.
All right, is there any questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to receive the District 1 estimate of needs for 24-25? I'm sorry, 25-26?
Yeah, there is. Yes.
Okay, we have a motion
I guess I'll second it.
to receive.
Thank you, Christie.
And a second.
Christie and I are very enthusiastic.
All those
Been a long
in favor
day.
say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yes.
Jason, you want to pass on row 3?
All right, Mr. Buchanan.
All right, court clerk. Our deal is,
Hold on, let's get. Hold on.
it's orange,
It is.
very orange, and green.
No other word in the English language.
There is.
Okay.
Mhm.
Another fun fact.
Thank you. Yes.
Closest we come up with Dorian. 2 words.
In our budget, we had to true out Mr. Warren's salary, Mr. Sullivan, our chief deputy's salary. We also, thank you all, last year we funded two new clerks part of the year. And cost, court cost compliance employee. So we just annualized all that, so that's the increase you see. And we kept everything else in communities the same. Looking forward, just real quick, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to ask. Judge Ogden has asked for 2 more judges in the legislature. And so we won't know about that until this session, most likely, or when they would be starting. So if that happens, we will need clerks and clerks for that. So there's that. Most likely down the road here where we store, and this doesn't come out of, but it comes out of general government, I believe, the storage for files. There's usually a tick-up, increase of 2 or 3%. So whoever's doing that budget might want to be aware of that. Edmond, we have an office in Edmond that we have gone rent-free. The Edmond city manager resigned. They have yet to name a replacement. We have found some temporary space up there. We don't know if we're gonna take it or not, but there may be a rent issue up there if Mr. Warren chooses to keep an office in Edmond. Otherwise, we'll move those people either back down here or maybe someplace.
How many people are up there?
Jennifer, 6, 4. I think there's 4. Yeah, we got daily office. You could have 125 people come up there to 225 per day. The admin attorneys love that office. And there's marriage license and passports. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, we're moving, hopefully, to the 5th floor. The construction goal at the end is December. And we're not real sure if that'll come true or not, but so far construction is looking great. We expect to move upstairs, sometime next year, either December or 2026 at some point. And we will be asking from the one-time funds of some new furniture. We don't have any estimates on any of that. We're counting desks, we're counting chairs. Everybody in our office from Millsburg has those elbow desks, goes this way and this way. And we're just, right now, we're looking at the straight desk chair. So that will be something we'll ask for and to expect. So this fall. Also get closer to that. Move. 142 employees, plus 7 part-times, so it's a lot, but some of those are admin, some are juvenile. We're in the process of inventory. Is that a word? Inventory?
No.
It is now. Inventory. Everything that we have, and it'll be fun for us to move. If you've ever been out there, we got a lot of big moves, so it'll be a fun year. But if you have any questions about the budget we presented, I'll be happy to answer.
Word inventory-ify.
Inventory by.
Applying.
Hey, Rick, your building and grounds remodeling, 50,000. What is it? It says you got 50,000 this year, asking for 50 next year. Is that correct?
Yep.
And what is that for?
Well, we use that for, stuff like new desks and stuff. In the office that we currently have, or
This is remodeling.
buy. Does it say remodel?
Yeah.
Well, let's not say remodel. Let's remove that word. Change that.
Because if it's desks or whatever, then we just normally have that.
Furniture.
Yeah, for us, yeah, it's mostly file related.
It's what related?
Files. Because we store. We're the big gray file cabinet. We have a lot of big gray files.
So is it buying new file cabinets?
For the office here,
Well, I don't know.
and sometimes we have to get them over in the storage building down the street. We've got to buy new stacks, and those are different. And they're very expensive.
But what I'm asking though is the $50,000 that's on here for capital, is that all for filing cabinets, getting additional or replacing?
For the most
file
Yes,
cabinets?
sir. We have to buy them. That building down the street, if anybody's been down there, I think Jason, I don't know if you've seen that, anybody else. It's about 80% full. 100,000 square feet.
So then in a couple years, we won't need to do the 50,000 because you won't have room for more file cabinets.
It'd be cool if we could just get everything digitized. And we do. We've had some work done in that area, but that's a many decade project.
Any questions anybody has? If not, is there a motion to receive the estimate of needs for the clerk's office for FY 25-26?
Motion.
Got a motion second to receive. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Yeah.
Ayes have it.
I do have a question for you, not related to approving this or receiving the report. When it comes to all the files that you have to store, if you had to give a percentage on what could be digitized and what stuff you have to keep forever, like capital cases or whatever, what would that be?
We keep all of them, and the reason for that is there's cases that are continued. And if you have a file that has a 5-year limitation on it, and a lawyer comes in and says, I need that file, we're gonna look at this, that delays it. You had 5 years on the file. So some of them can be perpetual. So we keep, we do. And we use, the amount of paperwork we use every year is about as tall as a you stacked them up as green paper, every color in the day. You gotta buy.
All right, guys. The only other item is item 8. It's follow-up questions on items that have already been presented. We obviously won't need that today, but that'll be very important on our meetings going forward. Does anybody want to revisit what we talked about earlier, or do we want to? Is that on the agenda for tomorrow?
The revenue won't be,
Okay. All right.
unfortunately.
So then, do we need to? Did we get all that ironed out? Okay. Let's go ahead and hammer that out real quick. We're back on item 6. I heard several people say 4 o'clock. Is that kind of drop dead? Because if it is, we've got 8 minutes. We can recess this meeting until tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and we can resume this meeting and then adjourn it and start our other meeting at 10:30. If anybody has to get out of here.
Maybe leave it for.
You see it in my hand?
Did you bring the copy?
I have another one. Do you want me to give this to you?
Let's do this. Yeah, the clerk's office will need one. Christy's gonna come back. Let's, if you guys don't mind, let's recess this meeting until tomorrow at 10. That way Christy and others can review these updated documents and have a little bit more time to discuss tomorrow. Does that work for everybody?
There is BOCC tomorrow, so I
Right.
just want to make that clear.
Does BOCC look like it could last longer than an hour tomorrow?
There's a couple of executive session items. I doubt it's still more than an hour.
Okay. Is that good with everybody?
Great.
All right, is there a motion to recess this meeting until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning in this room?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thanks, everyone. Albert, thank you for